Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Emulator Review. I am Jason Heine, doing what we do, kicking it, hanging out, once again, having a game night. You know those games that you forget about from your childhood until somebody either brings it up, you see a screenshot, a video, maybe somebody mentions it in passing? It's just really a wonderful feeling. And I actually had a viewer recently PM me and tell me, hey, on your recent retro pickups video, you showed a game, Alien Syndrome. I almost fell out of my chair because that was a beloved game from my childhood, he said. And that is what it's all about, to show these games, bring back these wonderful nostalgic memories. That's really what I'm all about, folks. So from me to you, it's no problem at all. But how about recently? That just happened to me, actually. I was watching a video and somebody briefly mentioned Captain Skyhawk and showed a screenshot of it, and I about fell out of my chair because this was a game I rented back in the day. Not once, not twice, but I rented it every weekend for about a month or two. I was just highly addicted to this game. At the time, I really didn't know why, but looking back on it now, all the reasons are very, very clear. Of course, I'm talking about none other than Captain Skyhawk for the Nintendo Entertainment System. The biggest and most obvious reason why I love this game back in the day is because of developed by Rare and released in 1990 by Milton Bradley. The year was 1990, and little Jason boy was already enjoying games like RC Pro-Am and Cobra Triangle. So when Captain Skyhawk came home from Blockbuster, this game just felt at home. It really just had a certain feeling that was so comfortable to me. Another thing is the music. All the music had a very similar sound that I was accustomed to. Well, accustomed to on the games that I really enjoyed. Of course, all the music was composed by our good friend David Wise, so that all would make sense. So in Captain Skyhawk, the story is definitely played out. We've heard it a million times in movies and sci-fi flicks and that, but the story is that you take the role of a fighter pilot. You're working to fight against this alien invasion. Evidently, these aliens have invaded Earth. They're trying to take over the world. They've built these bases throughout, and their goal is to drain the Earth's energy, feed that to their mothership, until their mothership is able to then retaliate and completely destroy Earth. So what do you think your job is? Fly around, destroy these aliens, destroy their bases, and stop them from taking over the world. Throughout the game, you also will notice that there are scientists that you need to either one, rescue, or two, drop off supplies. See, the scientists evidently are working on some sort of neutron laser cannon to help and aid Earth from being attacked. They're supposed to build this, use it against these aliens, but you have to continue to drop off supplies to keep them going. I don't know, take them fast food, or, you know, hit them with some Red Bull, give them wings to keep rolling. I don't really know. So ultimately, long story short, your goal is to free and help the scientists, as well as defeat the aliens and save Earth. Sounds like a lot to do for one Mr. Captain Skyhawk, but hey, you are the man or woman for the job, so let's dive right in. One of the great things about this game, and you'll notice it right off the bat, is that it just looks fantastic. This is a top-down, forward-scrolling shooter, which feature isometric graphics, if you're a little unfamiliar with what those are. It's a procedure used to represent 3D graphics in a 2D type of a world, with shading and angles and opacity. And in 1990, when this was released, this was absolutely stunning. I mean, these types of graphics, even though not very difficult to do, but it gave the impression that you really were in a three-dimensional world. You know, games at this time that used graphics that looked like this were only found on PC. They were like flight simulators, really. It's about all I can think of. So to have a home console represent graphics like this, I mean, I'll speak for myself, but it was mind-blowing. Another thing that really helps the gameplay and keeps your attention focused is the frame rate. It's just completely solid throughout the game. I don't see any heavy noticeable lag. I mean, maybe a little bit here and there, but that's just really cutting hairs here. I also really like the coloring of this game. Rare did a really good job of making the colors vivid and bright. The edges are nice and sharp and clean. There's room to breathe, so to speak. I mean, yeah, some of the levels are a little over the top, with one of the last levels is like completely purple. They have blue, green. Sometimes that may go a little crazy and trip out your eyes a little bit if you're playing it on a huge monitor, but you know, for the time, it was just one of the most colorfulest, is that even a word? One of the most colorful games I've ever played. Captain Skyhawk's gameplay is another highlight. Instead of doing just one thing, you get 3 different missions, all with different objectives. First mission is top-down, front-scrolling, destroy the enemies, get to the boss, beat the boss, and move on. Well, second mission, it goes to a third person behind the aircraft where you're shooting down bogeys and tangos left and right. Now, I know what you're thinking, and no, this is not Top Gun. This game is much better than Top Gun, in my humble opinion. So you have this fun mode to do, and as this progresses, this gets harder where they shoot missiles from the front to try to attack you. The later, harder ones, they start shooting missiles from behind that you can't really see until they're right up on your behind. What I found, as long as you just keep moving the whole time, you really don't get hit, honestly. Just duck and dodge and play smart, and you can get through a good majority of the game without getting a scratch on you. Well, at least the first couple of levels, that is. And the third mission I discussed a little bit earlier is that you're back into a top-down, front-scrolling situation where you have to drop supplies in this like square opening in the ground. It has arrows pointing in, and you have to line your plane up and drop the supplies at the right time. And if you miss, unfortunately, you have to go through the whole entire map again to get there again. It's kind of like a recycling level. Just make sure you hit it the first time and you should be all good to go. There are 9 missions in total, and I think at least 3 of them, 2 or 3 of them are where you have to drop supplies. And honestly, those ones are just more annoying than anything because when you miss, it's just so frustrating. A few times I felt like just looking over and just turning the console off. I was so upset because I didn't want to sit through the whole thing again, but you know, I can't be doing that. I can't just be cutting it short because I'm such a noob. Oh, and another thing to help noobness, let me just tell you, I've played a gank load of games that you can use turbo buttons on, right? This game owns them all, period. This is the best game that I've ever played that uses the turbo, but well, doesn't use it. I mean, if you have a controller that has turbo on it is what I meant. This game is incredible with the turbo button. You know, like some games you can press and hold the turbo button, but it only shoots out like 2 or 3 bullets at a time, right? This one, it's just unlimited. As fast as they can possibly shoot out of the plane, they do. And it's phenomenal. I just hold it down the whole time and just spray the entire area. It's a blast. I just love it. So get yourself a turbo controller to play this for sure. So at the end of each level, you generate points that you can kind of use in, I don't know, like a store or shop. Not really, I don't know. They just give you a menu where you can buy upgraded rockets and missiles and stuff like that. You always have your normal machine gun, as I'll call it, and that has unlimited ammo, but the other ones you have to purchase and use. And I actually found myself not really ever using them. I don't know why. I love the turbo machine gun. Just kind of got addicted on that. So I just, you know, spray and pray throughout the entire time, as you can see. Now, some of the levels later on, they do get pretty difficult. There's a few levels where the speed increases dramatically, and you have like this other F-14 or F-15, this other plane coming at you. He's ducking and swerving and diving all over the place, and you have to try your best just to get behind him and take him out. But it's difficult because you have to avoid the walls, you have to avoid the normal enemies that are shooting at you, and then you have to avoid this chump who's flying around at blinding speeds, also firing at you, so it can be a little difficult. I mean, just going through the level at light speed and avoiding the sides and walls, that's enough. You know, that's enough of a challenge. So, I mean, they really let you have it later on in the game. I was fortunate enough to get through it, you know, thanks to my turbo buttons and my cunning gaming ability. Another part in this game that's difficult that I forgot to mention earlier is that after a few of the levels, you have to dock with the base station, right, in order to purchase your upgraded ammo and everything. I don't know why you have to go through such a rigmarole to get to your docking station, but nevertheless, they found an opportunity to put a little side game, a little mini game in. Anyway, you have to line your plane up by pressing up or down, and then stopping the plane by pressing the other direction and make sure it's lined up right. And then once your plane is lined up with the little rectangle in the middle, you have to press any button, shoot button or whatever, and your plane then launches in and goes sideways, like do a barrel roll all the way in there. And it's freaking insane, because if you miss, that's a life lost. That's nuts, man. It's all about timing and accuracy. Luckily, I have both. And I actually have never had an issue with this in this game. I don't know, maybe it's common, maybe it's just really not that hard, but the idea seems hard, doesn't it? So once you dock with the ship, get your supplies, you can then hightail it out to the next level and move on. So speaking of moving on, let's move on to the end of the game. Once you finally make it to the 9th level, you're then greeted by the final boss. And what's kind of strange is that there's no, like, you know, different music, there's no kind of introduction, it's just like you're going onto a new level. It's like, well, destroy the enemy space station. That's all it says to you. It shows a little picture of this Cyclops thing. You're like, all right, here we go. And once he appears, it's unbelievable how easy he is. I mean, I could have beat this guy with my eyes closed. Just keep moving around and firing at every little tentacle. I don't really know what to call them. So you destroy all these little things on him, which is super easy to do. And then once that happens, freaking Cyclops pops out, and it's the most weirdest boss I've ever seen in my life. You got this eye looking at you. Like, who you looking at? Who you looking at? Where you going? Where you going? And not only that, I'm just moving around and I'm finding out that once you get to that point, the bullets that he's shooting at you are going at an angle. They're not even shooting directly at you or towards you at all. When I found that out, I was like, well, hell, I'll just get right in the middle of the map here, right in the middle, and just fire directly at this guy's eye. At first, I'm kind of like freaking out, like, oh, is it going to shoot me? Is it going to shoot me? So I kept moving, then I realized that bullets aren't even coming at me. So I just got in the middle and took him out. And I'm like, yeah, dude, you know, that was super easy. So then he blows up and does his thing, and then we're greeted back here at the end of the level screen that we've seen throughout, giving me the most points I've ever received on a level. And then it says, mission complete, alien invasion fleet destroyed. What? Game over? What do you mean game over? I didn't die. They don't even have the common courtesy to give you a proper ending. That's it. You can't just tell me the alien fleet's destroyed and game over. I mean, that's like saying, hey, I'm really glad you took all this time and played through our game, but you. You're pissing me off today. Oh, come on. I can't sit here and talk about how awesome I think this game is for it just to do that at the end. That's ridiculous. I don't know if it's, you know, they ran out of time or the budget got cut or, you know, Milton Bradley was up Rare's butt trying to get him to finish. I don't really know, but there really is no excuse on these games not having proper endings. I mean, even a thanks for playing, you're awesome, high score, you know, it's pretty cool. I mean, it gives you the option here to enter your name, and that's it. And then it's done. Then beginning again, splash screen again. Absolutely ridiculous. So, you know, there's nothing like getting all dressed up in your tuxedo, renting a limo, getting your hot date, and heading out to prom. Just for her to leave with your best friend in your limo. It's kind of how I feel here. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into the emulator review once again. This was Captain Skyhawk, and you know what? Even so, it is a fantastic gem that really isn't talked a whole lot about. I wanted to bring this game to everyone's attention. Please go check it out. It's relatively cheap to get a hold of. You can find them all over on eBay. If you can get over the fact that the game only is one player, doesn't have any ending, and can be just downright hard and impossible to pass in some cases, I think you guys are all in store for a pretty good experience. So, you know, give the game a whirl. Go out and find it, get yourself a turbo controller, and just button mash all the way to the end of Cyclops' face and take him out. Just don't expect, you know, happy ending or any ending for that matter. Take care, you guys.